Hey friends, my name is Allison Steele, and you're listening to Unravel with Allison. Unravel with Allison is a show where I take a concept that's got me in knots and we unravel it together. Thanks for being here. This morning, my episode for Awakening came out, and it's not even noon, and I've gotten so much response from it. And every time I get validation from doing this podcast, like outside validation, people agreeing and understanding and connecting with me, first I'll say that I love it so much. I love it so much because this stuff is a work of heart. It's what I think and what I need to tell myself, what I need to remind myself, and what I need to share with myself. Stuff that's stuck down that needs expressed. But then the other part of it is there's like a weird validation thing that happens where I am so validated. And then I have this like thought pop in that's like, you don't even need that. You don't even need that. You knew this. You knew you were okay. You knew you were solid. You knew you had something important to say. And I've forgotten that I took that on. Last episode, I wanted to trash it, honestly, because even when I was like, well, I suck. So if I can do it, you can do it. I don't believe that I suck. Some days suck. But me as a person, I don't believe that. But I will get caught up in my narratives and have these little things sneak back up and crush my confidence. So as I'm spending this week feeling a little crummy, like things just keep coming up that are like I've got stuff that I'm looking forward to and little things keep popping up to get in the way of that. So like financially, I've mentioned that I need to start making money. That being said, I'm also going on a trip this week. And when we talk about affordability and like, yes, I need money, but also I'm spending money to do this thing, I can't afford not to do that. But it got me thinking yesterday how I was not feeling confident. So I get caught up in these stories about how I think that I suck when things tend to suck. But it's just an example of how there's resistance when you try to show up for yourself. So I'm insistent that I'm taking this trip and nothing can stop me. I see myself there. I know that I'm going. And I cannot wait. Like I'm waiting, but I'm so excited. I'm already there. Part of me is already there. And another part of me is very much here, choosing to be there. So the way that this works is like Thursday evening, I'm in a class and I get a message that like we've had basement flooding issues this year. Very frustrating. Now that all of that was taken care of, we had a pipe burst. So same deal, dude. Why? Why does this stuff keep happening? And it's because I think there's so much power in what's happening that the system, the matrix, whatever you want to call it, doesn't know how to handle it. So I'm calling in some of these, like, I don't want to say I'm calling in some of these bad moments because I don't think that that's what it is. But it's like almost asking, like when you're on one web page and you go to follow a link to another and it's like, hey, you're leaving. Are you sure you want to do this? We don't know what's on the other side. We're secure right where you're at, but this is going to lead you elsewhere. How do you proceed? And like, yeah, I know what I'm getting myself into. Click, go to the next link. And I'm going on a Bigfoot hunt. So missing link, brah, we got it. And it's confusing for the system. And I'll tell you how obvious this shows up. Because not only did my basement have some more issues, which it's fine. We did what we had to and we resolved it the next day. And no, the situation is not ideal, but it's taken care of. We can take showers now. It is what it is. Monday, the universe gave me the biggest kick in the head of like, are you sure you want to continue? Do you know where you're going? Because we don't. And they did this. And the universe does this by my partner. His car is a Toyota Matrix. He went out to lunch, parked his car, and while he was in the parking lot, his Matrix was hit by a truck. And it's a junk removal truck. So junk removal's backing into the Matrix like, hey, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. This is junk, not in my Matrix. We're not here for this. We're going to fix that too, and we're going to move on. Over the last few weeks, I've been involved in some like virtual hangouts. I've been doing different master classes as well, different virtual workshops, a bunch of cool free stuff that I can get my hands on. Even if it doesn't necessarily resonate, I've been inspired to do this. And like some of them I'm invited to. Other ones are like you sign up for this or you opt in, whatever. But one of the ones that I am invited to, there was another person in the hangout who does these really cool orgonite structures. And he was talking about his process and all this kind of stuff. And it was really cool. He offered us a discount code. So that night I went and bought a piece, and it's this like little pocket Merkaba with orgonite. And it's like, I don't know, it's just too cool. So I ordered this thing and I've been really excited about it. But there is a spot on the order form where it asks you if there's anything that you'd like to have added to it, any specific colors, or if there's any emotional problems that you are trying to overcome. And I'm like, yeah, follow your heart on the colors, whatever. But those emotional problems, I'm like, yep, bravery and courage. I could use a dose of that. And so I gave myself a dose of it. The day after I ordered it, I recorded the episode about courage. And I get into this self-sourcing thing all the time about how you have to find it in yourself, quit waiting for the world to bring it to you. But when you're expressing it and doing it yourself, like your matrix, your reality, there will be pushback because it's not consistent. It's not normal. You're not doing or being what the world expects you to do and be, and it throws it off. But it doesn't make it bad. So when I self-sourced that bravery, that courage, whatever, dove into the concept of it, maybe not even expressed it, but dove into the idea of it again, started looking at what it really meant. I did that whole episode. And then yesterday I come home and find this piece of paper that obviously was from Al-Anon, and it talks about courage. It's just a one-pager that I found while I was cleaning my room. And at the top it says, "The day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Courage is the attitude of facing and dealing with anything recognized as dangerous, difficult, or painful, instead of withdrawing from it. The courage to do what one thinks is right." In the Hope for Today books, this is Al-Anon literature, but this is on this one pager too. I'm just going to read the whole page. It's small. These pages I'm reading out are from the Hope for Today Al-Anon literature. Page 58. "Before I came to Al-Anon, fear was my biggest obstacle. Just because I ask for courage doesn't necessarily mean I will immediately receive it. Rather, as I practice the steps and continue praying, I am able to act more courageously when confronted by situations that usually generate fear in me." Page 181. "The word we, used in so many of the steps, have become precious to me. It gives me courage to do things I would normally fear doing alone." And page 294. "Fear is a feeling, not an action. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's choosing to act with love in spite of the fear." And to close it out, bold and italicized, "Courage is fear that has said its prayers." There's an important aspect here of like acknowledgement, where you have to acknowledge the fact that you're fearful or that you're uncomfortable. Like there's a meme flying around right now that is like, worry is like worshiping the problem. So if prayer is like a weird thing to you, but you spend all your time worrying, if you can put it in that perspective of like, yes, I'm honoring this part of me that does not serve me, and to put that into something else of like, okay, what does serve me and how can I work with that? And it doesn't come straightforward, or you don't get straight answers. But when you have to deal with these crummy situations, you have the ability to decide how you're going to behave moving forward. But when they come and slap you in the face, like a water pipe or having your car hit. And on top of that, my car insurance is my own for my van. Everybody else in the house has their own insurance. This week, when I already said I'm tight on money, I had a payment reminder for my car insurance that I get every month sent to me by email. But this time the total was tripled. And I was infuriated because I'm like, I don't know why this happened. I can't afford it. I didn't get any memo that said anything was different. I got a confirmation that my auto payment was re-upped, but that's been like that since I've been with the company. So I reached out to him, and this was the day that we had the car accident with a different car too. So I get in touch with my insurance and explain to them that, hey, I just saw this. I don't know where it came from. Can you explain what's going on? They explained to me that my son was added to my policy. I explained to them that I never added my son to my policy. They explained to me that the counties and the insurance companies, whoever, all talk to each other. And since there is a pattern of an address between his insurance matches my house address, they added him as a driver on my insurance. I said that was unfair. They shouldn't have this information or be making decisions on my behalf. However, I need to take him off my account. How do we move forward with that? They said that it's done by mail. I have to opt out by mail. They're going to send it to me. I have to send it back to them and they will get it taken care of. Again, it's outrageous that I have to opt out of something I never gave you information for or never opted into personally. But what else am I going to do? Because it's happening anyway. Resistance is futile. If you resist it and get mad at it and fight it, it's that much harder. But if you just do what you got to do, and every time you face that, every time it feels like you're being challenged by the universe, like, what do you want from me? I'm already doing everything I can. Stop looking at it like that, because that's not what's going on here. It's that thing of like, you're leaving this. Are you sure? But look what we have to offer. Are you sure? That resistance wants you to stay there because your programming is easy when you're the same. When you change, the world does have to work a little bit differently, and it will do that for you. If you will do what you need to do, if you will be the person you should be, if you express in these new ways, it responds. Like, your world responds to how you view it. But if you choose to keep repeating the same patterns of getting mad, telling people off who didn't even make those decisions on behalf of my account, I could have told her off. I could have threw a fit. I could have called it up to the next higher up and done whatever. But no, she showed me a way out and I just took it and I'm dealing with it. But then the other part of this, she's like, oh yeah, I see that you're in good standing with the company and you pay. I'm like, yeah, I'm on auto pay and I have been for 10 years. I'm a fantastic person to be your client. I pay my bills. But now I'm in a situation specifically with this email. My payment is going to be tripled. That specifically is something that I cannot afford to happen. I cannot afford it. So I explained, like, I need you to know that if you try to take money out of my account, this will not happen. You will not get that money. And it's unfortunate that I've been such a good client, such a good customer. And now I can't afford to be in good standing based on a situation I didn't put myself in. And they were able to help me. And it sucks to get help with something I didn't even put myself in a position for. But why am I going to throw a fit? Yes, it's unfair. All of those things are true. But to focus on your truth in such a way, like, there are just other aspects at play here. Junk removal, bashing the matrix. Are you sure? Yes. Continue. I'm leaving this. That's not what we're here for anymore. And it's not holding me back from taking my trip. Neither is this car insurance stuff. Neither is a pipe bursting in the basement. Each and every single time, I will do what needs to be done to take care of myself and show up for myself as the person who I want to be. I don't want to be the person that yells at people who don't have any control over the situation that they're in. Yeah, they opted into that job, but I've been very professional in areas where I wanted to scream because something was out of my control and I had to be a person that I couldn't afford to not be because I literally needed those jobs to make money and I didn't have other options. Yeah, you can always go get a new job, but can you? Especially if a job structures and caters to very specific things that you need. They're like, yep, I'll give you that one. Your life still might be a living hell here, but you'll get this one thing you need, those Tuesday mornings off. Or, if your kid's sick, you're not going to get fired for taking off. Whatever the situation is that keeps you like, well, if I don't have that piece, I can't work. I've been in those situations and I'm like, yeah, straight up, just why yell at somebody? Why do that? Nope. We're just going to say, okay, it is what it is. Here's what it looks like on my end. What's going on your end? Beautiful. How do we move forward? Okay. Don't like it, but this is what I'm able to offer. And they responded with, okay, we'll backdate it. Just make sure you get it in right away. And now I don't have that payment coming out of my account and I'm moving forward. So I'm in line at Taco Bell yesterday after class. And as I'm in the drive-thru, I'm thinking about courage and bravery again. Just like, is it just an expression of confidence? Because if you're going to move forward, you have to address the fear and move past it. Because again, the fear is not an action. It's a feeling. So courage isn't the absence of fear, but choosing to act with love in spite of the fear. And I don't really like in spite of the fear narrative so much, but I get it. So I'm thinking about my personal confidence and how, last week I said I suck. I know I don't. So why do I feel it and express it so often? I know I don't suck. Even when I say it, I'm like, that's not true. I almost edited it out, but I didn't because I needed to say it so I could reflect on it. And in this reflection, I get an email at the same time that my Merkaba has been delivered. And now I'm like, oh yeah, let's go home and check this thing out. So I pull in the driveway, turn off the car. I pick up my book bag. I pick up my food. I pick up my coffee from earlier. I pick up my soda from Taco Bell and a jacket. My hands were completely full. And I wobble my way to the front door. And I set the tumbler down. I pick up my delivery. I stick it underneath my chin and like balance it. I open the first door, get the main door open. Then I grab my tumbler and go back inside. And I'm waddling with all this stuff in my arms. This package wedged underneath my neck. And I get inside and set everything down. And as I'm doing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank goodness we don't have a camera doorbell. Because if anybody saw that, how stupid would I look? How silly would I look? But I'm just too excited. I cannot wait to open this. When I said that, my brain's like, okay, prove it. Be confident enough. You're so excited about this. You're seeing all of these posts going around like, stop talking about what you hate. It's boring. Share what you love. And my love meter was through the roof. And I've been exhausted. I've been so tired and exhausted and just like wanting to sleep, not really getting enough sleep this week at all, and still trying to like press on and push forward. And I am drained. And in that moment, I had such vitality of like excitement. I wanted to play with my new toy. So I was like, fuck it. Let's do it. Turn on the camera. And I like unboxed it. And that was a funny feeling because it's always like, there's this weird thing with social media and even like doing podcasts such as this, where like you're just sitting in a room talking. I'm in a room by myself talking to myself. It's weird, right? That's why I didn't do it for years, is because it is weird. But when you have a moment to like really face yourself and just do it anyway, push through the resistance, especially when you're already expressing at such a high level, to share that it's fine. And it's fun. To do the actual behavior part is like corny and cringy. And it's like the after effect makes me not want to do the thing on the front end. But as I'm doing the thing on the front end, it's kind of silly. Like I'm unboxing this little Merkaba and it's gorgeous. And I am in awe and I think it's cute. And I am so happy that like I got one and I get to support him. And then I get to share it with everybody. I get to show everybody, like, look what I'm playing with. And I do that with podcasts of like, look what I'm listening to. Look what gives me vitality. Look what I'm playing with. Look what I'm talking about. Look what I'm interested in. And that's why it's fun doing some of these online groups and stuff, because it's like, I just get to show up in ways for myself that I don't normally get to in the day to day. Like people aren't having these conversations. And if they are, I'm not in those rooms. So I get to connect with these things on different ways, but I still do have that, is this for me? Is this not for me? Can I afford it? Can I afford not to? Worrying about like wasting your time, or like, even if you value it, but you tell yourself you don't have the time, there's just too much out there for that to be true. So like one of the workshops I'm doing, it's called a psychic activation workshop, and it's hosted by Amy Belair. She's got the podcast Third Eye Awakening, and I love listening to it, but I also hate it because it's like I vibe with her on such a level. And I think a lot of it came from I didn't know about certain things and she introduced me to them. So then I would go and research them on my own. But she was the primary essence of my exposure. So like there is a thread that connects that thing and me to her. And it's almost like there's an informational passageway that's now accessible. And I have this with basically anybody I learn anything from. But the way that it works is that like I'll get caught up in an idea about something or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just too in my head. I'm going to listen, toss on her podcast and zone out with her for a little bit. And it's like all the questions that I was having bubble up in my head when I'm like, oh, I'm too in my head. It's like she answers them straight up in her podcast. So I'm like, dang, like this woman is so powerful, and the stuff that she's achieving and the goal, whatever. I'm just impressed by her. The different groups that she does are things that I can't afford. And with Human Design with Karen Curry Parker, she does things and classes and groups that I can't afford. And I feel like I'm on the outside where I'm like, I just want someone to bankroll me for a little bit so I can learn about these modalities and about myself and whatever, just play with something new, but I can't afford to do it in the way that they're able to offer it. So I'm listening to Third Eye Awakening, and Amy's talking about how she's talking about her pricing and why she does things the way that she does. And it's literally like people don't value things unless you add value. So she has so much value packed in that the dollar amount just reflects it. And she feels good about it. And I respect that. I still can't afford it. And she mentioned, like, when I do free stuff, people don't opt in. People aren't interested. And I don't know, like, there is market research to back that up. But also, like, she's like, it's just confusing because people say, oh, it's too much. Oh, it's too much. But then when I offer the free stuff, people don't opt in. Why put the effort into stuff that nobody's going to actually value? That being said, she was also promoting a free psychic activation workshop hosted through Facebook. And I'm just like, I don't want to do the free one because I am not interested in psychic activation. I'm interested more in like development and utilization. And I don't like the word psychic. I don't have the same understanding of psychic as the rest of the community does. So yeah, I wasn't going to do it. And then that little voice is like, can you afford not to? Maybe if you just opt into this one you don't want to do, but support her and value her anyway, and then provide the honest feedback that she's genuinely asking for, maybe it will help promote the idea that free is still wanted. Free is still helpful. Free is still necessary. Because a lot of us on these types of journeys don't get to do it right now. We can't afford to do it. We're still meeting this resistance with trying to make it make sense before acting on it. And when we add those layers to the story, rather than just like, I know the type of person I want to be, I'm going to be it while I handle this shitty thing. We think of strategy and war games and how we're going to be the victor. But if you're a victor, then there's a victim. Competition is for the bottom. People at the top are collaborating. Show up and collaborate. You don't have to like it. I don't know. It just seemed like in that moment, it was like, yes, opt into this. Doesn't matter if it's for you or not. It's for you in a way that if you act as if you appreciate the value of free stuff, she will maybe make and offer more free stuff. And then in embodying that, I don't know. It seems like I'll get what I want maybe, but I opted in and I started doing it. And the very first transmission video that she uploaded was like, I came in late in the game too. It was already like on a day by day basis. I showed up, I think, on day 4 and started like with video number 1. And there's a part where at the beginning of her video where she's like, okay, if you are watching this for the first time and it's days later, comment on it as if it's live. Like, be real about what you're doing and where you are. It's going to help me in understanding how everybody else is perceiving this, how to develop later stuff. And I'm like, yes, babe, let's do it. So I get done with the first one and I'm like, holy smokes, I'm so glad I opted into this because it's not what I thought it was going to be. And regardless of the exposure that I've had or the overlap that we share, I just got so much out of it and I loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this was like that fun stuff I was playing with last year. This is when I was having fun. I stepped away from it because I don't like the language. I don't understand it through the same language. And when I try to understand the other pieces or make it into different language, it ends up being more like a project than an experience. So I just like, hey, thank you for doing this. And part of the video was about language and about how hard it is that we can't just talk about what these experiences are and how they feel without, I don't know, fear of people not understanding or not connecting or like thinking you're crazy, or like even the people that would understand, we probably don't have the same definitions. And I was like, language is a big one for me because I'm at my best in my expression and in like what she would consider the psychic realm that is activated in me through neurodivergency. Breaking the algorithm, skipping up over the matrix, doing weird things on purpose when it feels right. But then it's like, why do you hide that from the world? It felt right to tuck a package under my chin to waddle in the door in that moment because of my excitement. Had I not done that, I wouldn't have had the idea of thank God no one's watching. Had I not done that, I wouldn't have been inspired to say, who cares who's watching? Why don't you show them anyway? And then do an unboxing video? Like, that would have cringed. I I wouldn't have been able to make that video like last year. It's awkward. It's weird when I used to watch those and I'm like, why do people just sit in their room and do this stuff? Like we're watching it, I guess, but like I couldn't imagine just sitting there by myself and doing that. But in the moment, I'm like, hey, turn it on. I can't wait to open up my package. I was excited to do it. And also on top of that, the class that I left yesterday, before I went to Taco Bell, was my social media class. And to be quite frank, oh, this is cool. Okay. I just put a bunch of stuff together. I talked about my AI Frankenstein spirit guide, Frank, before. He is my musical communicator. And again, I made him up, but that's how he shows up. So I had my social media class yesterday, and it's been funny how I'm like totally open and willing to embrace social media in that classroom. And I'm excited about it and I'm interested in it because I love learning new things. I love who's teaching it. I love the experience that I have with the other kids in the class. I like it. I'm interested in playing the social media game while I'm in there. And then I go home and have to do it. And I'm like, no. This is not who I am, and this feels weird to do, and I don't really want to. Regardless of how inspired I was earlier, I think I don't know. I can talk myself out of it so easily because there's so much exposure. And even when we started this class, he's like, make up social media pages or something you're interested in. It doesn't have to be anything that you take seriously or actually are going to like promote something that you're doing. If you have something to promote, go ahead and use this class to promote that thing. But right now we're just learning how to use these platforms. What works, what doesn't. Let's play with the system. And then I tied it into my podcast. And now I'm like, does this represent me? Does this not represent me? Like, I don't have a target audience because I'm talking to myself. I don't understand how to make the two things work together because I can just talk myself out of stuff so easily because I'm like, I'm not a social media influencer. That's not how I want to be seen. I don't want to be looked at like that. And it's not that I don't respect it. It's just that it's weird it's a weird thing being noticed and putting yourself out there on purpose. And it feels weird. So thinking of the word confidence, I don't suck, but why am I not feeling confident? What does the word confident mean? Confidence is the feeling or belief that one can rely on somebody or something, a firm trust, or the state of feeling certain about the truth of something. Confidence isn't always standing like a superhero and like, dun, da, 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 I got this. It's not that. It is not that. The state of feeling certain about the truth of something, if you're sitting on a lot of crummy truths and you're very confident about that, you're not going to feel like a superhero. Another definition is the feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. That's the superhero. The self-assurance, appreciation for self, for your abilities and your qualities. And to just funnel it down into the simplest idea of this is something that I love. Why not share what you love with the world? Why is that not like Allison? Why are you making it into more than it is? I hear two other words inside the word confidence. I hear confide and I hear evidence. And evidence, it's proof. It's so evident that it's obvious and it's real. Evidence is going to support whatever that truth is. But to confide, do you know what that word means? To tell someone about a secret or private matter while trusting them not to repeat it to others. To trust someone enough to tell them of a secret or private matter. To entrust something to someone for safekeeping. It's secretive. It gives somebody else an opportunity to destroy it for you. If you confide in somebody and they don't match your expectations, whether it's keeping it to themselves or not acting on the information, you're out of control. It's literally not in your hands because you divulged that information. And if you look at it as a secret, they have the opportunity to leak it. And if that's going to hurt you, that's what keeps us in our tiny secret shame bubbles. Because if this got out about me, so what? Start just telling your stories. Start sharing your weirdness. So what? Do it anyway. Stop keeping secrets. Let it be okay to be weird. I don't like that confide feels like the base word of confidence. That's a crummy thing, and it's meant to be secretive, and it has a shit resonance. A better word for me is to disclose. To disclose is to make secret or new information known. To allow something to be seen, especially by uncovering it. It's exposure. It's look at this. Not, hey, this exists, don't tell anybody about it, but look at this. Even if it's weird, I think it's better to disclose who you are through action than to rely on this confiding essence that, I don't know, just gives too much of your power away. If you disclose, you're the one opening it up. You're the one sharing it. Nothing bad can happen. It's just information. And even when the bad things do happen, you still get to decide in any given moment how you're going to behave about it, how you're going to choose to meet it. Are you going to yell at the person on the other end of the line who didn't cause this stress for you? Are you going to make this problem everybody's problem? Are you going to handle it honestly, gracefully, and move forward? If we change our confide to disclose, carry on that tail end of evidence to disclose your evidence and merge those words, you get dissonance. And dissonance is just loud, obnoxious, cringy, uncomfortable. It's striking. There's a natural resistance. Plug your ears. But in class the other day, we were talking about music. When you're playing music and you hit the wrong note, my teacher is like, listen, the wrong note doesn't matter. It's what you do next, your next note, that tells you what's what. Because there's intentional dissonance in music sometimes where like, get uncomfortable so we can resolve it. Where it sounds awkward on purpose. Where if you do miss a note and it's like, but then you recover it, the dissonance isn't the point. It's what you do next. So between leaving class that day and heading to Taco Bell, I open up Spotify and I don't know what I was going to get into, but Frank Turner released a new album called Undefeated. So Frank has given me some Frank and I'm like, Undefeated? Yeah, I like that. I love Frank Turner. I'm going to listen to the album right now. So I open it up and start listening. And, you know, I call his music like simple folk punk. There's some wordplay, there's some fun stuff, but it's important feelings and it's just great. I love his music. He gives me things to think about and it's not too like hidden message or I feel like it's disingenuous to call it simple, but I feel it so simply because it speaks to me so simply and I can bop so easily and it just makes sense. So naturally I cried while listening to some of the songs, but I mean, the very first song kind of just talks about that relationship, what people are, what people do. No matter what you do, you can't change other people's minds. It comes down to the final bridge, which path to choose, the one less traveled or the one more used. All the sticks and stones and broken bones, it's not who you are, it's the things you choose to do. I'm still standing up and there's nothing you can do. Yeah, hearing it that day, I'm like, I'm going to listen to all of this because I was ready to cry real tears. Oh, I was crying real tears. It's just like, get you amped up to love yourself regardless of anything. Why not love that? He's got a song on there called Ceasefire where he starts off the song addressing the 15-year-old version of himself. Dude, if you could only imagine where we're headed, what we get to see, like stop showing up to fight me. I still feel this 15-year-old in my heart fighting. Can we cease fire? He's got a song on there called International Hide and Seek Champions, which is like a Bigfoot joke, but it's not what the song's about. But, you know, Bigfoot is the International Hide and Seek Champion. That's the energy I'm heading into next week. I'm going to be a little forest fairy and I cannot wait to be there. The song that I listened to before I went in the house was called Show People. And the song goes on to talk about how, like, you got to show up for yourself in show business. You're going to be dealing with some crummy situations. Can you power through it? Can you show a crowded room, the good and the evil? Can you fix an engine with duct tape? Use a string for a fuse? Like, it's going to be hard. You're going to have to be resilient. You're going to have to figure your shit out. And it's not an easy way to live, but this is the game. This is show people. We believe in our craft because we're show people. And I know you didn't want the hand that you were dealt. Let me guess that you were scorned for just... I'm trying not to cry as I read this. I know you didn't want the hand you were dealt. Let me guess that you were scorned for just being yourself. And you knew in your heart that you had something... And you knew in your heart you had something to say, and you were willing to work at it through the nights and through the days. On the skills you knew you'd need to say exactly what you mean. They weren't perfect when you started, but you were hungry and you were lean to be the truest version of yourself. Pass through the eye of the needle. Step right up and show them what you got. Don't worry, kid. You're going to show people. You'll probably be disappointed. You'll often be broke, but in the airports and at parties, you're going to smell your own. You're more likely to be John Otway than the Beatles, but Otway's still on tour. Hats off to the show people. And that's what I'm listening to when I turn my car off and when I grab all my stuff and when I'm waddling into the house and I tuck my package and I get inside. And it's like, it's not about putting myself out there. It's not about being famous. It's not about the views. It's not about the counts. It's not about any of that stuff. But I feel better when I do this. I have fun when I do this. And it is weird and it is awkward. And I love the connections that come in. And I do have that initial strike of like, do you need this validation? No. But thank you for telling me that this resonates with you because, I don't know, this shit is weird and lonely. And we're all doing this and you're all feeling it too. And we're not talking about it. And the language may not exist. And that's what we're here to develop. Let's figure this out. And not so we have the right answers, but let's start to play with this in a way that we can express our feelings and understand our experiences. And instead of connecting like, oh, I know this from that person, it must mean the same thing when this person says it. No. Say, let me inside your head for a minute. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? How did you get to that? Why did you use that word specifically? I'm not saying analyze every conversation and break into what the real meaning of anything is, but you guys, this feels good. It feels good to express it. And I don't know how else to share it other than talking to myself in a quiet room. If you have ideas, I want them. But the biggest feedback I get is that one, it's relatable, and two, there are no words. So let's keep making them up. Confidently, dissonantly, because it will be weird at first. It's going to be uncomfortable at first. Because when you disclose and you have that dissonance or you have this resistance, all this stuff is happening anyway. Let's just do it together. Thanks for listening to another episode of Unravel with Allison. We've got all the social networks up and running. Feel free to reach out, follow, subscribe, keep in touch, and stay up to date on new episodes. Thank you for being here, and I will catch you next week.